It is a pleasure to be here with this extraordinary group of creators. And it gives me a chance to talk about something that I am really proud of, that I think is really important, and is largely misunderstood. In the next few minutes, I want to take you through my journey of becoming an impresario, but help you understand where are the secrets, where are the hard parts, and what's the important thing to understand about working with platforms like this. I've been fortunate over the years, hardworking, but also fortunate, to be able to write 20 best-selling books in a row that have been translated into more than 35 languages. I'm a creator through and through. But there's a second kind of creation that I've been doing for just as long. And this is the creation of Hannibal Buress or my friend Keller Williams or Amanda Palmer or even Mark Twain. And this is the creation of showing up in a place for an audience and making some sort of magic happen. And the magic of the internet, the ability that it has given us to show up and do this work is extraordinary. Not just as a soloist, but my friend Tina has Creative Mornings. This is just the A's, and there are 12 cities. Or New York Tech Meetup, which had at one point more than 30,000 members. They couldn't get all of them into one room together. Something really special happens when we are in the same place, breathing the same air, even post-COVID, more than a Zoom call, creating this possibility, this interaction. And you've heard the joke about how you get to Carnegie Hall, and it's tempting to say practice, practice, practice. But in fact, there are two ways to get to Carnegie Hall. One way to get to Carnegie Hall is that they pick you, that they call you on the phone and they say, we would like to put you on the calendar. When you do that, you get to hang out in the green room, you get to do your thing, and they take care of everything else. But most of the acts that you've heard of that have performed at Carnegie Hall didn't do it that way. They simply rented Carnegie Hall, and everything was up to them. They had to figure out how to get the audience into the seats. Or if we think about the great Humans of New York, which has grown to hundreds or thousands or millions of people following Brandon as he's done this work, elevating people you've never heard of to the place where they can do even more extraordinary things. What we are seeing is a really big chasm that is misunderstood by a lot of people. How much would someone have to pay you to go on Oprah, or to give a TED Talk on the main stage, or to perform at the Comedy Cellar, or to be featured in the New York Times? Well, the answer, with the exception of the Comedy Cellar, where the number is so small it doesn't matter, is nothing. You don't charge Oprah to talk about your book. You don't charge Chris to give a talk from the main stage. And the reason is simple. The reason is they are bringing the audience. They are doing the thing that too many people take as sort of a side effect. That if you have the audience, everything else changes. That the hard part of working on this platform isn't coming up with a logistical answer, coming up with a way to get the venue. The hard part is creating the conditions where people actually want to come. You need talent or skill, sure. It's live. Yeah, I get that. And then there's an audience. And those are the three elements that come together to enable each of us to do this work that we seek to do. You have a project. It's probably not a business that runs every single day. It's a project. On January 12th at the Helen Mills Theater, Seth is going to be there. Tickets are for sale. You need a connection, a way to connect directly to the people who are going to come. Maybe you will be found on the platform, but far more efficient, more productive, and more reliable is that you have a connection to the people who are going to come. And the third one is that some sort of transaction occurs. And that part is the easiest of the three. So what we need is trust, because let's acknowledge that the people who are coming to your event have not been to your event yet, because it hasn't taken place yet. It is live. It is in the future. They need to trust it is going to be what they expected. permission, the privilege of delivering anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to the people who want to get them, and community. And this one cannot be overstated. People don't like going to a comedy show if they're the only ones there. Disney tweaked the line so that you would have to wait a couple minutes to get in. Who else is there becomes a critical part of what we are doing. That's why we're doing it live. You read a book by yourself, but you go to a live event with other people. So, the first part of my rant is simple. Who has the list? Who is bringing the audience? If that's your job, please don't deny how difficult it is, and please understand how valuable it is once you figure out how to do it. Showing up for an audience where you know who they are is part of what we are talking about here. You must create the conditions for that to happen. There are a couple ways you can do it. One way you can do it is you can have an existing audience who knows you, who likes you, you have a relationship with. Another way to do it is that people in the audience tell other people, what are you doing on Saturday? Do you want to come with me? A super simple example that's slightly irrelevant. There was a restaurant on the Upper West Side of Manhattan called Carmine's. It was crowded every night, totally jammed. Pretty good Italian food, but that's not why it was jammed. It was jammed for a few reasons. One, they served more food than any human could eat. Two, they used more garlic than any human should eat. And three, you couldn't get a reservation unless you had 6 or more people in your party. So as a result, you would go, if someone invited you, you would eat too much. You would go to work the next day reeking of garlic. People would ask you what you did last night. You would tell them because you had plenty of stories to tell. And then you would invite them to go back with you because it was a good time. They created the conditions for the idea to spread. Perhaps the organization, perhaps the event that you're building is one where the talent is the audience and the audience is the talent. That the people who are in the room is the reason to go. That the people in the room are the reason that you went, the same way people choose to go to a trade show. Maybe the audience is so engaged that I just want to be in the room with other people who are engaged. I hope what is coming through here is the idea that simply being good at your craft doesn't mean you're an impresario, doesn't mean you're the person that can build an event, creating the conditions for it to spread, to earn the trust, to earn the connection, to be able to do it again. You might need someone to book you. That not everyone can be David Sedaris or Mark Twain or Hannibal Buress. That what you have to figure out how to do is what Amanda Palmer did. Amanda built the biggest music Kickstarter in history. She did it not because she got found. She did it because her fans helped find the other fans. So the Amanda Palmer story is fascinating. She was half of a musical group called the Dresden Dolls. The Dresden Dolls had a label, a pretty decent music label. And after a couple albums, the label called them in and kicked them off. They said, we don't want to be your label anymore because your last record only sold 20,000 copies. Well, Amanda started this idea of showing up in a certain way for her audience. And she built the biggest community-funded music event, worldwide tour ever done. And after selling more than $1 million worth of slots in it, she tallied it up, and she realized that 20,000 people had backed it. The same number of people who had gotten her kicked off a major record label was enough people to break the record. That you are here to create value. If all you want to do is make a record or write a book, do it on your own. Do it in your living room. Don't do it live. But if you want to create value in a setting where people are going to seek you out, we have to begin with the idea that there's a reason it's live, and there's a reason to talk about it, and there's a reason you care about who the other people in the room are. That is the opportunity to find the others, because we are humans, and we are lonely, and we seek to be connected, and we want to be where the other people are. And so we show up at Eventbrite. We show up online. We show up looking not for, I don't know, jokes. We can find jokes online for free. We're looking for the others. The question that your audience asks themselves over and over again is, who else is going to be there? Who else is going to be there? Is it people like us? Because that's the definition of culture. People like us, we do things like that. Who else is going to be there? If you don't know the answer, you've missed the point. That what we're seeking is not the largest possible audience of people, because nothing reaches everyone. My books, 20 bestsellers in a row, not one of them has sold to more than 1% of the US population. 99% of the people don't buy. That's plenty for me. 1% is plenty. That platforms like Eventbrite have millions and millions of people checking them out. You can't handle millions and millions of people. That in every audience there's this bell curve. And the bell curve shows us what kind of people are looking. Some people, the innovators, about 2.5% of the population, want something that's new, something that's outre, something that's on the edges. Another group, about 13.5%, so it adds up by 16 when you add them together, they're the early adopters. They want something new that also works. The middle group, the group you are distracted by, the masses, 68% of the people, they want something that's proven, that's also popular. They are not here for you. They're here for Walmart. They're here for the iPhone. They're in the middle of the market. And then there's the laggards. They still have a 12 flashing on their VCR. They're not here for you at all. So if your slogan is you can pick anyone and we're anyone, if you can say this is just like all those other choices except I got this listing, you're going to be struggling. You're going to be struggling for a very long time. And the reason is because if I can just click and get to the next slide, I'm gonna. If I can just go on to the next one, I'm going to. The ones that people come to, the live events that are working, the community building activities that are happening are the ones that people would miss if they are gone. They might miss it because you are a unique talent and you're the only person they'd ever wanted to hear, and this is their only chance to hear you. Sure, that's possible. That's unlikely. It's way more possible that they are saying, oh, this is the chance to be where the others are. That your job is to create the conditions for connection to occur. That if someone who decides to come to your event needs to bring 5 other people in order for that event to be as fun and as empowering and as useful as it could be, then they will go get the 5 people, not because they want to help you. They don't want to help you. They don't know you. They're going to do it because it helps them, because their life is better if they have their bridal shower at your event. Their life is better if they invite 4 coworkers to your event. So I've been using Eventbrite for years and years and years, since the early days, off and on. I've rented theaters in London, in New York, in Detroit, in Washington, D.C. Couldn't get Ford's Theater, but I got one just like it. I've gone around the world doing events where I've been able to show up and say, who else wants to come? And at a typical event, it wasn't unusual for 5 or 6 people in a group to come. Why would they do that? My blog is free. The reason they would do it is they could reach out to someone else they knew and realize if they brought them to my event, their life would get better. That the opportunity that we have, whether we're looking for sponsors or partners or venues, is to say, I know how to find the audience. That I need to work with you to help me find the audience. That if we think about some of the great events that have been run at Carnegie Hall, maybe it's 10 or 15 artists who have come together to put on a show, each one bringing just a couple hundred of their biggest fans. Now the other fans are meeting each other. that when we think about the opportunity you have, whether you're building something that feels like a trade show or a comedy show, it's to be the impresario, to be the person who figures out how to create the conditions where trust is built, where connection is earned, where you have permission, the ability to deliver anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to the people who want to hear them. Not everyone, someone specific. That what we have the chance to do is find the smallest viable audience and give them a chance to get more of the status they seek or the affiliation they seek. The chance to fit in, to be part of something with a group that they wish to be part of. That people want to get in sync. They want to be doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're doing it. That the clock is this really powerful and useful tool. It is a tool that lets us say, this is where the other people are going to be. That we know the difference between a Tuesday night and a Saturday night. It's not just that there's the work tomorrow. It's that on Saturday night we're supposed to be out with our friends. Just our friends, the right friends, doing the right thing. People like us do things like this. Sure, yeah, the logistics matter. There are tactics that people are going to be talking to you about today or some other day. There are things that you will lose sleep over. Did I get the right venue? Is the indemnity clause correct? How am I going to get this pricing done or that pricing done or this bonus? All important, but they are all easy. The difference between the people who succeed and don't succeed isn't the logistics. I am trusting that you will get the logistics right. The difference is in creating the conditions, in earning trust. Why on earth will I believe that you're going to do what you said you were going to do? Why should I expect that the others are going to be there? That creating these conditions, it's an old tradition. This is how you build a bar. This is how you build a bakery with a line out the door. This is how you get people to invest in a fashion brand or a tech company. No one is suspending the rules just because you're doing an event that's live. That what is going on is simple. That you are here to create value. That we are seeking to put into the world a situation where others want to come and are glad that they did come. Scale isn't the point. No one here is going to reach mammoth scale, 100 million people. They can't fit into the event anyway. Scarcity, the right kind of scarcity, creates value. The scarcity of, I better get a seat now before it's sold out. The scarcity of, the others are going to be there. I can't give up my spot because I don't want to be missed. That when we say, this is for someone, not for everyone, when we lean deep into resistance, deep into doing remarkable work for a very specific, smallest viable audience, then and only then do we have the chance. So I've shown you this 3-word slide before, but it's the key to the whole rant. Find the others. That is what we want. That is what you need to do. That your job is not to hustle or to hype. Sometimes it looks like hustle and hype gets you there. It doesn't in the long run. What gets you there is, oh, I'm walking through an airport. I'm wearing the right kind of Patagonia shirt. They're wearing the right kind of Patagonia shirt. We must have something in common. Oh, I see you have the same ringtone as me. We must need to be connected. Oh, I see that in this setting, a whole bunch of people who get the joke are here. My cousin likes really loud music. Music that's so loud, the band makes you put on headphones before you walk in because you can feel the bass in your chest. I would hate that. I wouldn't last 3 seconds. It's for him. It's for him and the people like him. Figuring out people like us do things like this. So you have assets. Everyone who is building something like this has assets, and they are priceless. And these assets are not that you know how to rent a venue, or that you know how to tell a joke, or that you know how to mix a Manhattan. These are skills. They are acquirable. You can hire people to do them if you need to. The assets are trust and connection and permission. The asset is the ability to put together the situation where people want to show up, where you can create value. I just want to thank Eventbrite and the people like Eventbrite who figured out how to show up and build these platforms that make it possible for us to do this work. Because with the platform, if we care enough, we can show up to make things better for the people we are seeking to serve. So that's what marketing is, whether or not you're running a live event. Marketing is not hype or hustle or running a factory. Marketing is being able to say, here, I made this. The people who would miss it if you didn't. Marketing is the passion to make things better by making better things. And you have that ability because you own these assets and you can dive ever further into them. So I'm going to check the incoming questions here. I want to answer a few of them. Britt Parrish, Tulsa, Oklahoma says, how do you stay motivated when things get hard, whether in business or something else? You know, if you run a marathon and you finish it, you're going to be tired, guaranteed. And some people make it to mile 20 and they don't finish. What's the difference between the people who finish and the people that they don't, and people who don't? It's not that some get tired and some don't. They all get tired. The difference is the people who finish figure out where to put the tired. And if you are running a marathon and you begin to get tired, it means you're doing something right, not something wrong. It is a symptom that you are leaning into the work. So if you are showing up as this impresario, if you're showing up as this organizer or creator, and things start to get hard, the first thing you might want to say is thank you. Thanks for letting me know I'm leaning into this. And now there's a fork in the road, because maybe they're hard because you don't have a good idea. Maybe they're hard because you're not doing it very well. Maybe they're hard because your offer is off. You need to be alert enough and insightful enough to realize when that's happening. But maybe it's hard because you have a product for early adopters, for nerds, for people who want to go first, and you're busy talking to the wrong people. And so when you get rejected in situations like this, yet another chance to say thank you. Thanks for letting me know that you're not the kind of person that's interested in this sort of experience, in this sort of product or service. But then, after you say thank you, you better figure out if there's somebody somewhere who is interested. So years ago, I got kicked out of the book industry because I did a book that didn't succeed very well. And then I did a book called Purple Cow. A friend of mine died in a tragic helicopter crash. And I wrote the book so I could dedicate something to him. But I had no publisher, so I published it myself. And I put it in a milk carton. The thing is, 5,000 copies of a book in a milk carton, I didn't need to sell it to almost anyone. I could sell it to the right people. So was it hard to get the logistics right? You bet. Drop me a note. I'll tell you how to get a book in a milk carton. But that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was figuring out which 5,000 people on earth trusted me enough, that I had enough connection to, that they would buy a copy, not because they wanted to help me, but because they had something in it for them. And what they had in it for them was if they put this on their desk, other people would ask them about it. It gave them a chance to be one of those early adopters. I was very clear who the smallest viable audience was. Next question. From Melody Lewis in Phoenix, Arizona. There are so many forms of marketing: digital, social media, content, affiliate. How do I know which one to utilize? Let me try to divide them. There's brand marketing and there's direct marketing. Brand marketing is ads you cannot and should not measure. The purpose of these ads is to earn trust. A little awareness and trust over and over and over again. Find a group of people who listen to a podcast or who follow some channel and pay money to show up and show up and show up. Do not measure it. If you measure it, you'll do it wrong. And then there's direct marketing, measured marketing. Spend $1, make $2. If you can find a direct marketing channel that works for you, do it more. Not spam, unanticipated, impersonal, irrelevant junk mail, but actual earned permission. Figure out how to show up investing as you go and getting paid in return. It's one of the two. They both work. If you want to sell vodka, you better do the first one because the second one doesn't work. On the other hand, if you want to sell, I don't know, magazine subscription, it's probably the second one. And then within that, there's the question of who's taking the risk and why. So affiliate marketing, multi-level marketing is where the marketer puts the risk off to somebody else. And the problem with that is they will cut corners in ways that you would not want to. They will figure out how to hustle for a short-term sale because it's the only way they get paid. And they don't care what they do to your brand because that's not how they're getting paid. So my instinct is if an ad is worth paying for, you should pay for it. And you should figure out how to pay for it in a way that you can do it for the long run. All right, I think I got time for one more question from Matt Tufflor. I hope I said that right. Matt Tufflor from Oakland, California. What advice do you have for a brand dealing with a customer base that may be aging out of their core business? Do you evolve your business and chase them, or is it wiser to let them go? I'm going to leave the age part out because I don't think that part is relevant. I want to talk about the chasing part. The most successful brands I know, the happiest marketers I know, are very clear about what they are doing. They are not taking, they are giving. They are honestly saying, I made this. Do you want it? And they are not only happy, but eager to hear no, because it gives them priceless information about what the people they are seeking to serve do want. The best way to understand what someone wants is to try to offer to them, not to ask them what if, but to actually say, here, do you want this? And for the people who want it, whether it's an electric car or the chance to go to a nightclub tomorrow night with 3 friends, when given the opportunity, many people will consider the opportunity. And so, when your audience begins to shift, and it happens all the time, then what are you going to do about it? At the beginning, Apple Computer, the most valuable company in the world, made products for me. They made geek-focused digital interactions that people like me wanted to buy a new one every 6 or 9 months. I've owned more than 70 different kinds of Macs, and then the new phone, and then the new phone. And then one day they said, you know what? We're not going to chase those people. We're not going to make something for those people. They are not our customers anymore. They changed. And they said, we make a luxury good, an above average in expense, reliable thing that's not for nerds, but for the people in the middle of a curve that want to pay money for what we make. They stopped running after me and they made something for somebody else. That's their choice. I had the choice when my books started to succeed to figure out how to make wider appeal versions of my previous books. Make a sequel to this and a sequel to that. Show up and show up and show up with the same idea. I decided that instead of looking for new customers who wanted average stuff, I would go back to the people who already trusted me, who had already given me the benefit of the doubt, and make a new thing for them. And so, yeah, you can get my blog for free. You can get a book for $20. But if you wanted to come to my live event, which I haven't run in a long time, it was $400. And people came. Not enough. Not enough if I wanted to be super rich titan of the universe, but enough to make me glad that I flew to Ann Arbor that day, stopped at Zingerman's for a breakfast sandwich, and then went to the Fox Theater in Ann Arbor and spent 7 hours on stage, right? That event wouldn't have been possible without Eventbrite. And for the people who were there, I think they're glad they came. I didn't need 10,000 people. I needed 300 people, the smallest viable audience. So to summarize this half-hour rant, it goes like this. Figure out how to create the conditions where value will be created because you connected people, you found the others, you put something together that they would miss if it were gone. And then bring that to a group of people that's inclined to trust you, who will tell the others. Because the hard work isn't hustling strangers. The hard work is giving that first group, the ones who already trust you, a story, a true story, that they can eagerly tell the others so that the word will spread. Because as the word spreads from person to person, the internet is doing what it's good at, which is building communities, creating groups of people who want to get together to make something happen. I really appreciate your time and your energy and the work you're doing. I want to hand it back now to Alex in San Francisco. Thanks for leading. Go make a ruckus.